Greetings, fellow Whovians, and welcome to Timey-Wimey Review. Well, another Sunday has been and gone, so here's my raw thoughts / review of Chapter 3 of Doctor Who Flux, Once Upon Time. This video will contain spoilers, you have been warned. Safe to say that this was a very middling chapter, quite a meaty chapter really in terms of world building throughout the Doctor Who Flux series, and yeah, quite a lot of characters got splintered off in this chapter. So in the how does the Doctor get out of this one moment, the Doctor she steps on the last spot of the Maury, and that causes Yaz, Vinda and Dan and the Doctor herself to all sort of splinter off in this time storm, and the Doctor's kind of using her own sort of power and will to try and save them by going into their own time stream, sort of past and future colliding time stream, but it's not quite how everyone remembers it. And also we get a new character called Belle, and we kind of see a part of her story, how she's surviving the aftermath of the flux, or how the universe is surviving this aftermath of the flux. So we'll talk about Belle, a new character. Again, like I said, she is surviving the aftermath of the flux, and she's going through different sectors and just basically surviving. So a bit of a surprise. At first we have a Dalek sector, so it was nice to see some Daleks sort of roaming around on this planet. We get a little bit of sort of worded story of how she managed to escape that, only to end up in another sector dominated by the Cybermen. And much that I did like that, because that is naturally what they're going to do. She also mentioned the Sontarans on there, so he's kind of like those three really mentioned in Once Upon Time. It would have been nice to hear about more aliens and how they sort of dealing with it. So it could have easily name dropped, to name a few, like the Rutans, the Ice Warriors, Draconians, the Sycorax. That would have been really good, just to really sort of put on a more epic scale, than rather just having, oh, it's just the Sontarans, Daleks and Cybermen. You know, it could happen in the next sort of few chapters really, but I think it would have been a really good sort of epic scale, just to sort of name drop, or sort of like the fall of the Draconians or something along those lines, just to have that little sort of wink and nod to Doctor Who's past, but also just really just building up the scale of the aftermath of the flux, this devastation of the flux in the universe. So we also have these splinter stories, as I like to call it, and it kind of reminded me of the Star Trek Next Generation episode of Yesterday's Enterprise, where they're in like a sort of time stream, as it were, or an alternate reality, but it's just not quite how they remember it. So it was quite clever to sort of do that in terms of sort of backstory. It mainly worked for Dan and Vinda. For Dan, we get the return of Diane, and sort of getting to know Dan a bit more, how he got his heart broken by a previous fiance, when Diane asked, why have you not been, taken for and married already. And also Vinda, we have a lot more backstory for Vinda. This was probably more out of, well, barring the Doctor, we'll get to her in a moment. So we have a bit more about Vinda, how he was a whistleblower in his role in the military, which was very much frowned upon, and that was kind of the reason why he was shunned away in that observation station. And it didn't really take a genius, as I mentioned with Belle, that not only is she surviving, but she's also looking for someone. It didn't take a genius to figure out, I wonder if it's Vinda. Yes, it was. And much as it was okay, it didn't like annoy me or anything like that, but I just didn't get that emotional weight to it. I don't know whether this is some kind of weird plan for a spin-off series for Vinda and Belle, or we're going to get to see these characters. Hopefully in the final 3 chapters of Doctor Who Flux. But as an emotional weight of it all, it just didn't quite stick with me. It just, I wouldn't say it was padded, but it just, Yeah, it didn't give me that emotional weight or emotional connection with these two characters. It would help to mention that in these Splinter stories, it's the main cast that are kind of taking other roles or other minor roles, which I thought was quite clever to do that. So, for example, when it was Yaz's background, we had a scene with her in the police car, and the doctor's wearing a police officer's uniform, but it's not actually the doctor. It's kind of Yaz's projection of this person, and it's basically Yaz's partner, police officer. And I think that happens with like Vinda as well, and most notably, it happens with the doctor. So her is obviously the most meatiest of the Splinter stories, which is absolutely right to happen because the name of the title is Doctor Who. So I'm glad that it's more sort of like adding into the Doctor's lore, whether you like the Timeless Child storyline or not. So when it got to the Doctor's Splinter story, you get the reflection of the Doctor sees herself in the mirror and another surprise appearance, and it's the fugitive Doctor Jo Martin. So it was great to see her return. So her story is basically the first raid of Atropos, and the Doctor with not Dan and not Yaz or not Vinda, all sort of getting into this siege, all in military gear, and the Doctor giving out orders, very much not like the Doctor. So it was kind of like glimpses of the Doctor's past as she was in the Division, as that's how I kind of made out for it, and probably how the Doctor or pre-Doctor got her freedom out of the Division. So it was very interesting to see that, but it kind of gave the impression that it was the fugitive Doctor that was in that role in real time or in that other timeline. But yeah, lots of sort of meaty, um, well, it raised more questions than answer them, which is pretty much how Chibnall kind of writes most of the Doctor Who stories. But it was that was kind of like the main interesting meaty part of this chapter. At first, when I was trying to get my head round what was going on with the main characters not being the main characters, I thought Dan upgraded himself in terms of weaponry. Last week he had a frying pan. This week he had Cavenister's axe weapon. But actually, no, it's actually Cavenister who was part of the first raid as part of the Time Lord division. So we're kind of revealing a few sort of who was there at this moment. We haven't revealed all of them, which is quite good. You know, you always want to go away wanting more. So as far as I've worked out, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So we've got the fugitive Doctor was there, Carvinister was there, and we've got a couple of more to be revealed. Sure, it's got to be something along the lines of like Rassilon or even, you know, Omega, or even way further back. I think it's even before the what was it, the Celestial Investigation Authority. Again, I do apologize if I got that wrong. But yeah, it's adding into this world building that Chibnall is sticking to his guns to. But wait, there's more. There is one more character to introduce. Good job we're not playing some kind of weird Doctor Who drinking game, because we're all going to get very drunk quite quickly in these chapters. So we have a new character introduced, and do apologise if I pronounce this wrong. It's called Al Sock, played by Barbara Flynn, and she's kind of like this elderly figure, and she basically tells the Doctor that the Flux was created because of what the Doctor has done in her past. So it's kind of like a man-made type of weaponry to sort of either wipe out the universe or reset the universe because of what the Doctor's done. And I also got this kind of notion, and again, if I'm going in the wrong direction, let me know in the comments, or if you agree with me, let me know, that at the beginning we always knew it was like for the Time Lords, they are the Lords of Space and Time, but it seems like there is a war between time and space. Like, the two should never coexist. It's either one thing or another. It's very, very confusing, very sort of trying to get your head round, but that's kind of what I got out of this chapter. I'm going to give Once Upon Time a Tardis rating of 6 out of 10. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad chapter or it was terrible or anything like that with the score that I've given. It's just that it's quite a meaty chapter to get through, and it's part of the middling sort of part of a book, or even in like sort of a trilogy of films. You kind of just have to get this out of the way to sort of progress the story. So this is kind of what I got out of Once Upon Time. I did like the world building, and I'm gonna have to appreciate whether you like Chibnall's story or not. At least he's sticking to his guns and just going for it, really. Whether I agree with it or not is remains to be seen. I'm going to wait till right to the bitter end to sort of pass any judgment in terms of the story and the lore that's been introduced in the Chris Chibnall era. But I did enjoy these new characters, and it has left me wanting for more, especially at the cliffhanger at the end with the weeping angels in the TARDIS. Shock horror. That's quite scary sort of thought, really. In there controlling the TARDIS. But I did like like I said, the world building, the sort of more mystery into the division, and the fugitive doctor, and all those little nice surprises in between. I wish there was a bit more emotional weight between Vinda and Belle. It just didn't connect to me. If it connected to you, all the power to you. Fair play for that. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on chapter 3, Once Upon Time. And also, we're halfway through, guys. It's gone so quick. What has been your favourite chapter so far? Next time on Timey Wimey Review, I'm going to review the Doctor Who special Time Crash, when the 10th Doctor met the 5th Doctor, as part of the BBC Children in Need appeal. Until then, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And as a good doctor once said, on my command.